The Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast. It is episode number 424. If you can believe that, Brian made the trip in. Good to catch up with Brian. He's back to work now, so all the fun and games have ended, and life is back to usual. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, though. If I win the lottery of $785 million,
we will never hear from you again.
they will never see my fat ass. Unless I'm wearing orange, they will never see my fat ass in Senate County Jail again.
Happy birthday out to Devin Germain. He made the heavy hitter list for Demolition Derby Life magazine. And
I think that was weighted. I don't think he,
Oh boy, you know not the stones you're overturning there. Oh man. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking with them in the not too distant future. Last night, if I read the tea leaves correctly, TJ McCulloch was on the Revved Up Garage Cast with Steven Sickles, talking about what they've got upcoming for their season. So jump on there, check that out. I have no doubt that we'll be catching up with TJ among the many other things that he's got going on. Like I was saying, it's today is Wednesday, January the 4th, and we've already got a jam-packed schedule. Huh? It is Tuesday. I'm sorry. It's Tuesday, January the 3rd. But nonetheless, I digress. Over the weekend, the Buckhead, the Demolition Derby that they were talking about at New Year's Eve, it ended up getting pushed to Sunday on New Year's Day. John Alexander, he was up here in studio with Alex Sager. He was not able to get the car to the track as they were getting ready to pull the car out of the shop and get it ready to load. The rack was making all sorts of clunking and thunking, and the car didn't go. So, unfortunately, they did not get the chance to go. But on the flip side, however, up in Kearney, Nebraska, at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds, Cornhusker Chaos did get off the ground, and we've got the Korandas joining us here, Casey and Dylan, who picked up the win over there in the two-man class. That name should sound familiar from terrorizing that neck of the woods. And also we saw them, we saw at least Casey was on the track winning at Blizzard Bash. So this was a couple years back. But nonetheless, congratulations, guys. I'd like to welcome you to the show. Appreciate you making some time for us. And joining us via Zoom, we've got both of those guys. Congratulations on the win. And, the Derby season has already begun, and we're a short 3 days in.
Yeah, thanks. They're a lot of work.
Has it been as much fun as it would seem?
The fun's kind of leaving it for me these years.
Why is that?
It's a lot of work, and I don't know. It's a lot of studying and manipulating frames to make them hard anymore. So,
is that a product of the show choices? Is that a product of the car choices? We're no strangers to the fact that the Demolition Derby has certainly changed from, the chain and go era back in the 80s and, the early 90s and stuff. Things have changed dramatically, and it seems like those two-man classes aren't necessarily immune to that either. But at the same time, the two-man classes aren't an attraction anymore either. They're getting just as much build attention. You guys were in the two-man team, not two people per one car. So all of that stuff sort of factors into where we're at as the sport continues to evolve. Is it show choice or is it car choice? Is it all of it?
It's kind of all of it. A lot of the shows that we only run anymore, they don't. I like to run them where there ain't protectors in there and stuff. So
you like to run with the protectors?
No, without them.
Without them. Yeah, those are getting a little bit tougher to come by just with the advent of all of the big money engines and stuff. We've even seen that influence kick in around here. Even if they just want to run the lower cradle, they still want to be able to protect that investment so that you don't tear blocks apart. And I mean, I can see it, but with that inch comes the mile.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we've heard a lot of talk guys in Pennsylvania back and forth. You should run cradles. You shouldn't run cradles. You should run this. You should run that. today, I mean, there's getting to be, a decent variety of, where you can run them or where you can't run them. It's, I don't know. I'm old, so I agree with them. I would rather, no protectors, no. Let's just, build to the rules and see who can drive. I mean, that's how I feel. But I don't know. It's tough. I mean, like I said, we've seen the bonuses of both. I mean, but I can totally understand the not wanting to deal with all the protectors and garbage.
But even at the current point, I don't think there's ever been a car that's come through Demolition Derby that's been given as much to make it tougher, the way that the Fords are. But when we were talking with J.D. Lorraine last week, he was even saying that it's getting tough to come by a good Crown Vic, and he wants, he's kind of predetermined in his mind that he wants to get something out of Florida. Less rust is better, et cetera, et cetera. And you have to do so much of that, and that kind of leans into what the Korandas were saying there in terms of, how much work it takes to make it go. If you're building a new style Ford, you've got to do a lot to it in order to get it to go on paper. Now, you can run a mid-90s Lincoln. You can see those things all over the place in bone stock shows, and they hold their own. The back ends roll just about perfect straight out of the box. So, I mean, I get it. And by all means, guys, nothing's getting any cheaper either, is it?
No, it's hard for a young kid to get started anymore.
What are Vic's going for out there where you guys are at?
800.
I think at the Kearney auction they went for about $800.
Yeah, they used to be. I mean, they used to go, $400 or $500.
Yeah, for nothing.
If that, that's crazy. And I mean, there's, there used to be 1 million of them around, and I mean, they're still there, but it just guys are hoarding them like they used to hoard old iron.
Right.
And it's funny. I was mentioned talking to Corey Relier, and that's what he said is he was looking for a really nice 11. And I said, man, it's, I know Mike Oliver's got a couple up here, but they're becoming scarce. I mean, I've asked a couple guys about them, and they're harder to come by. So, and it's just part of Derbian. I mean, it's become, it was obviously for, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, it was the Chevy wagon. And, now they're even more scarce and even more valuable. And, that's what's going to happen to Vicks eventually. I mean,
Eventually. I still think we're a long ways off from that, though.
20 years from now, guys are going to be paying $2,500 for a 90 HD. You know what I mean? It's that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's the demand it's going to drive the price up. So, Derbian. In my humble opinion, I think all Derbian started out as a cheap sport. Hey, let's buy this junker, we'll knock the windows out.
Well,
and then somebody goes, if we just did this, and then if we did that, and then we did this, and we did that, and
I think every novice street stock division at any local track around the country can say the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Cornhusker Chaos, you guys came down with the team win there. That's Reckless Promotions. Logan Dowie of the Dowie family putting on this show at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds there in Kearney. Tell us a little bit about the show as a whole, and I guess my first question is, did you ever expect that you would be derbying in the middle of Nebraska this early in the season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nebraska used to have some good wintertime shows, and that's probably about the only big show that we really got left besides, what's that one, Border Wars?
Border Wars is about the only two big shows in Nebraska.
Derby in Nebraska is kind of dying real fast nowadays. Ain't nobody getting in it, so. But
That's
yeah,
sad,
we
man.
really like to run Cornhusker Chaos. It's a fun show for us, not too far away.
That Nebraska was a hotbed. I mean, for years, like when We Crash first came around, that's everybody was talking about Nebraska. You get the DVDs out of Nebraska.
Husker Havoc.
Yeah, Husker Havoc.
Husker Havoc, the first Husker Havoc, I think, was running a cattle auction barn or something. The ceiling was as low as it is here. Way back, though. Way
crazy.
back. Blue Media DVD then.
Yeah, but that's sad to hear, man. There's still good drivers obviously coming out of that call Nebraska home, but that was kind of always on our bucket list, was to get out there to get to a show. So,
and isn't there now? There's essentially two border wars, right? One promotion kept it, and then somebody split off, and now there's another border war.
Well,
I'm not 100% sure on that. I know Rob Baker's got the one Border Wars with Stanton. Other than that, I don't know if there's another or not.
Rob Baker's was the one. That was the one that I was thinking of. But then I thought that we had a conversation with somebody else where we even did a live draw show for it. But maybe it wasn't Border War. I think it was over near Lyon. up in the upper northeast corner, but I can't remember for sure. You know, the competition, it seemed like that team division that you guys were entered in had some pretty stout competition. There's certainly no slouches out there, and we're talking about the land of the Rosnos too, so that's always fun to see those common names keep popping up on the results list. Tell us a little bit about the Derby itself, the car choice, and how everything played out. Was there a point where you started looking around saying, you know, this is ours to lose?
Go ahead. Yeah, I was kind of sandbagging a little bit. I seen Casey was hitting pretty hard in the feature, so I figured I was going to bag it out a little bit so we had a car left over at the end if we needed it. And then all of a sudden there was only 5 of us left, and I kind of figured it was kind of ours to lose then.
Gotcha.
So is it kind of nice when you see your teammate out there making junk and you're like, yeah, I can just kind of take it easy and ride for a while? I mean, it's got to be kind of a nice feeling.
That's normally how it goes for us. I like to drive a little more. He likes to hit a little more, so I can wake up the next day and still move. And
well, you know,
it's easy to mop up when somebody paves the way, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, running that old checkered cab in reverse, it's pretty rough on the body. We might have to swap a seat out in that thing.
Oh. It was funny. We were I can't remember who it was. It was somebody Bobby Perrell down here in town. A guy that runs the shop here. I had him put a half shaft in my truck, and we got talking, and he asked if I still derbied. And I said, yeah, once in a while. He goes, man, your back must be terrible. I said, oh, no. I said, I don't back up. I said, you got to be able to drive to back up. I said, I go forward as hard as it'll go. So, yeah, that's one thing it's always made me hesitant was that backing up, man. I have a lot of respect for you guys that can do it and hit things and tear stuff up like you guys do. So, but yeah, that backing up is that plays havoc with the old back and neck and everything else.
So the budding topic of conversation is the checker cab. What did we learn aside of the seat? What did we learn? What can we apply? And are we going to see another one?
That's my second one I built. I did one 10 years ago, but they're a lot of work. They're kind of like building like a box Imperial. That's what you kind of build them as. And once you get all the suspension stuff tweaked on them, then they're a hard car. And originally that one was going to have torsion bars in it. I was going to put Mopar suspension in it, but when I called Logan, he shot that down. He said you need to tone that car down, I guess.
Yeah, that'd made the front even more stiff to put a nice set of torsion bars in it.
I mean, forever up here, the checker cab was outlawed. Yeah. You couldn't run it any place, and little by little, as the Imperials have sort of come back, you've seen the checker cab sort of gain a little bit of traction too. And you know, having built one 10 years ago versus where we're at right now, it's a much different world too.
Oh yeah.
For what you're able to do with it, it seemed like it did everything that you wanted it to do. It certainly seemed like it was a tough car, but the suspension components are kind of something that sticks out in my mind. I realized how tough it was back at Dustin Wood's format show 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, might even be 3, where somebody had an Imperial and they messed up the steering pump, and it's not like a part that you can just interchange. It's pretty specific to that car. The way that the way that it functions and everything. So, is that kind of the same boat? Are you in a spot where you have only a finite pool of parts to pick from?
They're not too bad. They have a lot of Chevy parts in them up front, but like the spindles are completely different. Like I was running that show, and the center link that's in that car, if that ever broke, I mean, it'd be done. I don't even know where you'd find one. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of it was in that car was like 80s Ford spindles, and then 80s Ford ball joints, and then 74 LTD tire rods, I think. I don't know. I found those up in our barn probably like a week before the show, and they just had the right bend to clear the A-arm. I was like, well, we're going with those because I don't know what else to use.
That's not cutting it close. I mean, just go up the bar and see what you can find and make it work. That's Derby. That's Demolition Derby to a T right there, man. It doesn't get any better than that.
More importantly, what else is in the barn?
Yeah, it's kind of funny around our home way. Korandas are. It's funny when people come look at our cars. We got duct tape and stuff holding stuff together, old fence post shifters, and everybody's just amazed how it just keeps running, I guess. So
yeah,
we just try to keep it cheap and fun anymore.
Yeah, they used to call that agricultural engineering when we used to race.
Is that a Joe Morata term?
No, but that's when my brother was running street stock. There was known to be baling wire on that, and some maybe a plow point or such here and there, and so it was. But it did pretty good. So we continue doing it.
Looking forward to everybody kind of hanging around with us a little bit later on. We're going to dive into some of the local racing scene towards the bottom half of the hour. Also going to be talking with Ron McClung, God willing, that we can get the Zoom stuff working. I am Demolition Bad Ronnie. He's pretty old school. If you're not familiar, spends a lot of time on phone calls, not on Zoom meetings. So we'll have to see
how it goes.
See if that'll work. Hopefully everything comes together for him. Some results overall from Cornhusker Chaos. Bergmark got the win in old school heat number 3 on day number 2. Ryan Moores ended up with a Mad Dog in that one. The duo bone stock, Matt Rosno and Craig Johnson got the duo bone stock win on day 2. In the trucks, it was Nick Bladow. Old school 1 was Ben Paicha, and he got Mad Dog, and then Logan Wensky ended up getting old school 2, duo bone stock, Dookie Scroach and Jake Teagues won that one, and then the limited weld, Nate Fowler got the win and the Mad Dog in that one. So there's some of the additional results in addition to the Korandas taking the two-man team portion of it. That checker cab, man, it was all the rage. There was a lot of buzz about it this weekend. Gained a lot of attention, and we've seen a couple of them, but never to the point where the car was allowed to add everything that it needed to add, so that the body either didn't shred off it or those steering components were susceptible to things like that. So it was good to see that car at least get enough, even though it didn't have the torsion bar suspension. I mean, can you imagine that?
That would have been awesome. Now, Dylan, what kind of car did you run?
I ran a 71 Buick LeSabre.
Nice. Old
he brought it over to.
What's that?
I said he brought it over to my shop, and we gave it a little bit of frame straightening love. So I did one last year, and he goes, "Well, we got to do it to my car." Now my brother's bothering me, and he wants one done for this summer, maybe. So we'll see.
You can't be just giving your ideas away, your tips like that, man. You got to hold that stuff close.
Oh. You'd be surprised if everyone would come to the pits. I mean, if they wanted to look at something, I'd show them and tell them how we do it. But you can tell them how to do it, but odds are they probably don't do it right.
Oh yeah, true. And that's the thing. I mean, that's one thing that has improved is, when I started derbying, man, any secrets were under lock and key. It was family heirloom. You didn't share nothing.
Family heirloom.
Family like the Benjamins, for instance. But
those
now
tricks, those were whole frames.
Yeah. Now guys are more willing. Hey, ask a question, and you get the answer, and like he said, not everybody's going to do it the right way, and you can have, we've said it a million times, you can have a good car, but if you don't have a driver in it, it's not going to work as well either. So,
well, frame straightening. I mean, there's so many different directions you can take that. I mean, pun not even intended there.
Mm-hmm.
But the other deal with that is, it's come to pass where there's a lot of different tricks and stuff that you can apply, and we've said a bunch of times how cookie cutter even some of the old iron has become.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the Buicks, the 225s and stuff like that, and how it's just a guide of check this box, check this box, check this box. But you can buy all the parts and you can apply everything that you want to.
Yep.
But the way that the Korandas built that 71, it might not work for anybody else.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not going to be done the right way, because it wasn't done their way for how they're going to drive the car. And,
True.
and that's become so evident now in Demolition Derby as a whole, just that the notes, you can tell anybody you want. You're not going to be able to drive it the same way I am, so you're not going to have the same success.
True.
Take whatever you want.
Very true.
I mean, think about Rick Engelhart. When Rick had Brett's Roundback at Wheel Days. and Brett's car, you could have put your hand on the intake after he was done with it. Rick, he broke the block.
Yeah, he did. I was asking, and it's funny you bring Rick up because, I'm sure I don't know that Rick ever had any tricks for the actual car building, but his motors and his transmissions were bulletproof.
One trick, and he even showed us
Oh,
the servo.
Yeah, servo and the Downy.
Right.
Two. But I mean, it's Rick's drive lines were bulletproof because his cars were unless something broke early, they were junk when Rick got done with them.
Right.
So, win, lose, or draw, it was going to be junk. But yeah, you're right though. It depends. I mean, it's got to be built to suit the driver, and not every build suits every driver.
After Dylan was done with that one, who ended up having the straighter frame after the run? I feel like Dylan's might have been able to see a second run without as much repair as when Casey had it.
Oh, mine's definitely straighter.
He didn't even flake the rust yet. Yeah, everybody just a little bit of work in the back end, but not much. Mainly from him hitting me. That was about it.
I was actually just going to ask you that. Has ever been a case where Casey's out there going buck wild out there, and one of the brothers are out there just hoping to stay out of the way of the crosshairs and just not take accidental friendly fire? Look at the nod.
about every show, that's the way it is. But this show, I actually hit him once. Probably my hardest hit of the whole feature was hitting him when he got in the way. So
that's great.
That happens sometimes.
It does. We've seen it. We've seen it happen in team shows before.
Oh yeah, and even some non-team shows where they were team shows, we've seen that happen.
we've seen that as well. But Casey, I mean, talking about hitting and friendly fire. Casey, if I'm not mistaken, you guys were you're with your older brother at Blizzard Bash a couple years ago and won the 2-man extreme class, right?
Yeah. Well, Capital Carnage.
I'm sorry, Capital City Carnage, right? And was there any fists thrown inside the cockpit there as the decisions were being made about what direction the car should be going?
Not too much. I mean, we kind of get along. I just get annoyed because he never gets on the throttle. I feel like I'm more sore getting hit by 800 cars than doing 3 or 4 big shots, but he likes to get bounced around, I guess.
It's always better to give than receive,
I suppose. What's up next for you guys after this? I mean, you guys have another 362 days of Derby ahead of you.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I do construction and he farms, so here before too long we get pretty well swamped. So
I was going to say it's going to be time for you guys to go to work soon.
Yeah, there's some bigger shows that we wouldn't mind going to run, but a lot of it's switching over now. You can't patch any rust in cars, and so to me, it's just getting to be. I just don't want to wreck $5,000 shells every time I want to go run, I guess. So
I agree.
But we'll probably do some county fair stuff this summer around here.
What's the biggest challenge that you're facing now in terms of not being able to patch to do the rust repair? Has it just been a product of people abusing that, and so you're getting to a point where because it's been abused by so many different people that it's just off the table at this point?
I think that's a problem. If there's a guy to blame for rust repair, I'm pretty well known for it in Nebraska, I can tell you that. Yeah, my last year's team car was a $175 sedan I bought, and I patched that for 2 years, so we cut for a long time last year on that one.
Holy cow!
So that just begs so many questions.
Man, it sounds like you could move to Ohio and live there because God knows they like to repair rust in Ohio.
Have you ever thought of relocating?
I like them rusty cars. They're a little bit cheaper. I don't have to spend as much. So.
Yeah, but then you got to spend more on welding wire.
A little bit, yeah. Welding wire is not too bad compared to some shows where I will bolt everything, and that gets expensive.
Oh yeah.
That year that Capital had that two-man that paid 10 to win, I had an Impala down there, and I put over $300 and some worth of bolts in that thing. And after tech, we cut all them out and re-welded the doors. So it was a sad day.
Yeah.
Also doesn't help when you're fixing all the rust repair and then putting it back outside to age and then fixing the rust repair again and then putting it outside to age. I trust that probably adds up too, right?
I would guess. Wow, that's crazy.
What?
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wondered where the cars were now. Did you park them out in front? Have you had a chance to look them over? I know you were talking about having to do a little bit of frame repair on the 71.
Yeah, mine we just kind of threw in the barn, and then Dylan's sitting in his shop. So, but I think about all his needs is a change of bent rim. That's about it. Like I said, mine just needs a little bit of work in the rear, and it'll be good to go.
You're saying that Dylan doesn't even have to change oil in his because it never got hot? Didn't even get...
That is correct.
Hey, the great thing about this is each guy is happy with their job. You know, the one guy goes out and makes junk, the other guy goes out and makes the money. I mean, as long as they're both happy, that's all that really matters.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm sure everyone was probably wondering if I was even going to open it up in the feature after the way our heat went. But usually in those heats for that team stuff, I like to just hang back and let guys whip their cars around out there, and they usually bust their own suspension out, so then I don't have to do as much.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, is that in the back of your mind, trying to make sure that you had enough? I mean, those checker cabs are always kind of advertised as being so stout. Did you think that there was going to be a situation where you could use the car up too early in the heats, and it would be wiser just to wait it out?
No, not really. I was just real lazy, and I just didn't want to have to fix my own suspension, I guess. That's why I don't know. But once I'm in the feature, I don't really care if the tire falls off. At least then I can feel proud if I junk it there.
Right. Just horsepower over it then. You know, but he's completely right. I mean, how many times do you go to these shows and, you know, you see guys make a fast turn and whatever, and it'll lay a tire over, and then the job's halfway done for you.
Yep.
You know, or I mean, if it's a rough track, they're breaking ball joints and such, and you know, he's been doing this a little while. He's
right.
He's been involved in a show or two, but he's right. I mean, it's, you know,
patience is so huge.
And I mean, you know, I'm old myself, so probably older than Casey, so I definitely don't want to fix something between heat and feature. So, you know, it makes perfect sense when, I mean, you have to get through the heat, but you know, you're obviously there to make the money, and that's in the feature. So, you know, you have to find that happy medium, and obviously these two did.
Dylan.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
You guys were talking about liking the bone stock stuff, or not so much the bone stock stuff, the stuff without all the protectors and everything like that. In terms of running with out the protectors, is a wire class motor swap class kind of along the lines of what you guys are looking for, or do you want to be able to build a little bit more, just get rid of the engine protectors?
Yeah, we just don't like the tranny braces and the DPs and all that. Lower engine cradle isn't. We don't mind that at all. Brace ends, we don't mind that because you can't find a Chevy 10 bolt or 12 bolt anymore.
Right.
They're getting hard to come by and expensive.
I thought you guys grew Chevy parts in Nebraska. Like, I thought there was like wagons and Impalas and rear ends and all that, bumpers and all that stuff just growing out of the ground out there, because there always seems to be a lot of them out there.
Because they all have to age for 2 years.
Yeah. Too expensive for our liking.
Yeah, no doubt. It is. I mean, it is crazy to think what, you know, we're paying more for bumpers now than we used to for cars. You know what I mean? That's insane. I mean, it's
$50
crazy.
for a car and it didn't run right, and you wouldn't bother changing the spark plugs. And
just smash it. Yeah,
off it.
It's crazy. But
well, I love talking to these guys. I mean, they fit right in with what we've got on our county fair view of things up here in New York, and I'm so glad that you guys were able to make some time for us and hang out for a little while. Is there anybody that you want to make mention of or thank to help get you guys to the track?
Big thanks to our motor guy, Doug Heath. My motor, went to go pull it out of our Imperial, and it was in a shed, and the oil pan was plumb full of water. So he managed to get that all fixed up for us in a hurry.
What was wrong with it?
And then, and then just thank Dad and brother and them for helping on that cab. That cursed thing of building, it was a mess.
Oh, that's terrific.
What was wrong with the
mainly
engine?
family in general for putting up with us not being around for the last month.
Well,
Just being in the shop though every day. It seemed like.
yeah, there's no small task, and there's certainly sacrifices made beyond just what you see in terms of the investment in the cars.
No doubt, for sure.
What ended up happening to the engine? What was the issue there?
We have no idea. He tore it apart, and there was no rust anywhere where that water should have come from. So, and like I said, it's in a shed and everything else. So, we don't know if it was just condensation for sitting for a year and a half or what happened with it.
Right. Huh.
Just a weird thing.
Well, that's lucky. That could be bad.
Better to be lucky than good, right?
No doubt.
Well, we appreciate you making some time and hanging out with us for a little while. Congratulations on the win at Cornhusker, and I hope to catch up with you guys again soon. It's great to get your perspective on stuff. It's very, very refreshing to hear about the bone stock and being able to, or not so much bone stock, but just kind of getting away from the heavy braces and protectors and stuff. I like the sounds of all that.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Thank you guys.
I appreciate it, guys. We'll catch up with you later.
Have a good night, guys.
See you now.
Sounds good.
Yep, you too.
We got our first break queued up. Tell you a little bit about Capital City Carnage and Bash for Cash and Smash It, and then a little bit about Demolition Derby Life magazine. We'll take that break. We'll come back. We should have Bad Ronnie by then, and we'll be on our way.
Smash Demolition Derby wants to say thanks out to all the drivers, the dozens of partners, the fairs and staff, everybody that made 2022 a successful season. Looking ahead, Smash It is going to be at the annual SMW Motorsports Expo and the promoter meetings for plans for 2023 as they come together for classes, rules, fairs, and all the updates and everything. You can visit SmashDemolitionDerby.com online. Before we get into the county fair season, however, they do have Capital City Carnage waiting in the wings. Street Stock Weld class is going to be 5 one-and-dones, 5,000 to win, March 3rd and 4th at the Stormont Vale Event Center in Topeka, Kansas. Thursday is going to be heat draws at 7 o'clock. Heat draws start at 7 on Thursday. Friday and Saturday, the pits open at 9:30. Limited Weld is going to be a 10,000 to win show. Weld Compacts, 2,500 to win. Two-man extreme class, front-wheel drive hobo, front-wheel drive minivan hobo, and front-wheel drive youth hobo are all paying 2,500 to win. All the times are, all the start times are in the Central Time Zone. It's only going to be streamed on DerbyNation.tv. Additional details for Capital City Carnage, March 3rd and 4th, are online at SmashItDerby.com. You can also find out more about the Bash for Cash, that gigantic outdoor show, May 26th, 27th, and 28th at the Ross County Fairgrounds in Chillicothe, Ohio. Big format change is going to be the three-man Pro Stocks, 30,000 to win. Smash It full size paying 10,000 to win. Smash It minis 10,000 to win. All the one and dones 2,500 to win. Friday 7 o'clock start time. Three-man Pro Stock team heats. Pits open at 8 o'clock. Saturday 3 o'clock start for the Power Wheels. 4 o'clock is the Pro Stock Team Constellations and the Smash It Mini Heat, Street Stock Full Size, Smith Metalworks Youth Full Size, Street Stock Minivan and SUV, Frank the Tank 70s Wire Class, Smash It Full Size, caps the night. Pits open at 8 a.m. Sunday 1 o'clock start for Championship Day, Smash It Minis Constellation Round, Youth Mini, Street Stock Mini, the Relic Class, the Smash It Mini feature, and then the three-man Pro Stock Team feature. Pits open at 8 o'clock. Again, all the details on Bash for Cash and everything to do with Smash It Demolition Derby is available online at SmashItDerby.com. Demolition Derby Life magazine releases 12 copies a year and covers all of the action coast to coast for the Demolition Derby world, home of the hottest action motorsports magazine on the market. There's over 30 editions that have been published to date. A full year subscription is $119, and past issues are available. They should be coming out with another release here in the coming weeks. Make sure you jump online and follow along. Find out more about Lexi Droz and everything going on with Demolition Derby Life magazine on DemolitionDerbyLife.com.
And we are back. We got Ron McClung joining us here on the line in a moment or two to talk about the updated schedule for Billy Bash. We'll catch up with Ron for a little bit here as we approach the top of the hour here and wrap things up for episode number 424. We got Ron?
Yeah.
There's Ron. Ron,
Hello.
man, thanks for coming on and hanging out with us for a little while. And look at you jumping straight into the 21st century using Zoom to call in, man. Is everything going smooth for you?
Not too bad. Isn't technology fantastic?
Look at that.
There he is.
Well, we got 4 days now. We got $75,000 to win over there at the Burford Fairgrounds and Ag Society show for Billy Bash. It's back again. So obviously the new and improved Billy Bash idea worked, and you're back again in 2023.
Yeah, we're very excited to get things going, and we already have 50 entries already paid and signed up. Added a few more different classes, and all the drivers seem pretty excited about the added prize money, and again, 5-foot trophies in every class.
And the biggest draw is the Almost Hip tribute band is going to be there.
Yes, absolutely. Friday night they're going to kick things off, and can't wait. They're a fantastic band, and they'll play for 3 hours straight without stopping.
12 classes this year, and the headline is going to be the 10,000 to win Pro Stocks, and I also like the addition of at least the return of that $5,000 Legends feature. I think that's going to be a really cool addition.
Yeah, the Legends class a little bit different this year. What we did was we sent out invitations to some of the older guys who've been on the coach for the past few years, and we did get a few of them to come up and sign up and run, and we got a secondary list of drivers that are still competitive and who are legends and have won lots and won big shows, and it'll be a full heat of 25 cars going for $5,000 one and done.
That's not bad.
No, that's a pretty nice payout.
That's the Legends class stuff is always cool when you see some of that stuff. We've had some of those type of things that we've run across here and there, and it's always cool to see the drivers come back out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially the ones that have been away for a little bit longer than they probably should have, because they either just expensed out or technology to their way out of the game. It's good to see them coming back. And with the rule book for that one, is it going to stay kind of true to what you were used to up there in terms of the older stock style builds, or are you going to implement some of the new ideas to the build set for that Legends class?
No, we decided to go back to like 1999 rules.
Nice.
Something that older guys are more used to. Pretty stock car. Just you can have a better diff in the car and hard nose bumper and make it safe for the car, for the driver. And super easy build, and you don't have to go out and buy thousands and thousands of dollars of parts.
This is right in your wheelhouse, man. I've seen you build a lot of cars in the last 10 years with the 1999 style rules.
Still will.
Some of them right at the shows as we were getting ready to run.
I love building a car the same day and make the features pretty cool.
If they ever got a stacker trailer, Ron would be building the car in the back as Brian drives to the show.
Yeah, that would definitely happen.
I bought a 7-car trailer.
What's that?
I bought a 7-car trailer.
But it's not enclosed. I guess that wouldn't stop you. I mean, I heard the words.
I don't think my half ton will pull it, though. I got to get a big truck.
Just hook it on and go. What's the worst thing that'll happen?
Blow a tranny.
There you go.
So I understand that you added RJ Phillip to the inspection team this year. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, a lot of us are, like myself, I'm a straight stock guy, and Brian and Matt and Jarrett and Ryan, they're all, more into weld them up cars. So we don't really have a lot of experience with the small cars and, the tricks and the hidden things they do. So RJ will be a big asset to us and keep everybody straight and narrow, and it'll be a lot of fun. So
again, this is going to be June 30th, and then July 1, 2, and 3. Billy Bash is at the Burford Fairgrounds and Ag Society. It's going to be one of the highlights of the summer up there. What's your year looking like? I know there was sort of some hints that you might be adding some shows to the IM Demolition schedule, and then we know that you're at a point now with everything being pretty much. I mean, I guess it's fair to say everything's back to normal. I kind of anticipate seeing you run. Take a light year to get back into it. Run 50 shows.
Yeah, I think we're going to be around 6 or 7 shows for us to put on this year. And then we got the 3 shows we're going to do at Burford Fairgrounds, and then we're just going to reach out. We got a few of the local fairs that we're going to do. As far as myself, I'll never miss running at Stoneboro. It's my favorite place to go every year. And yes, I like to go there for the pizza as well as the Derby. It's just something that ever since I started going there, it's just the best track, the best fairgrounds, and the people are so nice there. So
When was the first year that you went to Stoneboro?
I think it was about 2015.
Yeah.
So it's a hell of a story when the Reckless Warriors tour was on,
Right.
and it was a 2-night show, and it was supposed to be stock cars on the Friday night and weld cars on the Saturday night. And Bo Lockwood said that, the whole town, they'll open their garages up to you, they'll give you their tools to use, and you can put your car back together to run. Well, he had a mistake, and the fair board put it out where the weld cars would be the Friday night and the stock cars would be the Saturday night.
Uh-oh.
So I only had a stock car, and I ended up running my stock car against all the pro cars. And out of, I think it was 30 cars, it got down to like 18th place, which was really good. And I made a mess of the car, imagine that. And the next morning at the car wash, I was cleaning the car up so I could go back home at the end of the day after the Derby. And 4 guys pulled up in a ex-police cruiser and told me to follow them. And they took me to a garage. And we put my car back together with some Imperial subframe parts and lots of 9-wire and some MIG wire. And I was able to compete in the stock class and gain more points and end up being the headhunter for the Reckless Warriors Tour. And I gained 4 new friends that day, and one of them was being Mark Elliott.
Pretty
How
cool.
about that?
Pretty cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we went to Randy Brazel's Chop Shop in Mercer, Pennsylvania, and it was Chris Furster and Mark Elliott and Greg Halute, and so just a whole pile of people, and they put on a whole spread of food and put my car back there, cut a Chrysler Imperial subframe in half and put it onto my Y-framer, and I was able to get back out on the track and have a great time.
That's awesome. That's what Derby's about, man.
It
It's,
is.
it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, real family.
And Ron's one of those guys that would get along real well with the Korandas that we had on
Oh,
in
yeah.
Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever had the chance to run against those guys before? I think it's
No,
a fair question since you've been all over the place.
I haven't been to Nebraska yet, but I'd like to go there one of these days. So
You got to get into the Border Wars show.
yeah,
That's a good one. And then I'm blanking on it. Crash Fest Express. That's the one I was trying to think of. Those guys.
Yeah, I'd like to get down to California to some of them stock shows that pay pretty good.
have you ever been there before?
No, it's on the bucket list for sure.
Yeah. You're too young to have a bucket list. That's a little.
I'm 60 at the end of this year. Oh,
Not even slowing down a little bit, huh, Ronnie?
no way.
I'm still trying to
They
process
can,
that.
they can bury me in a car.
Good for you.
I can't. When Mark Elliott and Chris Furster pull up to you at night at a car wash and say,
No, it was
"Follow
at
me to an
7 in the
undisclosed
morning."
location," you got to be a little. You got to be a little apprehensive about making that drive.
Well, to me, it looked like 4 big goons climbing out of this ex-cop car, and I'm going, what did I do? But it turned out to be a really good time, and I was glad to get back on the track because it was a lot of fun. Like, Stoneboro is such a hard track, and me, I like to hit people, and you can hit so hard there and junk a car in no time.
I remember being at Stoneboro, and man, the fight that broke out on the track. It was Klinger and Rick Clark.
Yeah.
The battle at the bottom of that tower when they were hitting each other at the bottom base of that tower.
Yeah.
Feel the
I
whole
wasn't
tower
there, but
shake.
I watched the video. Yeah,
And-
that was
and
that
they
was
drove.
awesome.
But we all ended up leaving Stoneboro. We drove overnight at various points. Drove back up to San Filippo the next day, and they picked right back up where they left off. It was.
Yeah, I remember watching that show on the whatchamacallit. It was they got out after it. That was for sure.
It was great. It was great. That track is real special to a lot of people. I mean, Frankie Guy loves that track. Casey Smith loves Stoneboro. That weld, the night that I believe it was the same night that Ron was talking about down there at Stoneboro. That was the night that they had the team show, the special team exhibition, the second night, if I'm not mistaken, with some pretty serious iron. That Imperial that Casey Smith won with, I believe, ended up in the hands of Corey Roman.
Oh, okay.
And Corey Roman ended up winning with that.
Was that the one he won with the Iron
Kings of
City
Ohio.
Nationals?
It might be. It might be because I think he took a. If I'm not I think he took a Ford when he went out to Dustin Wood's show. I don't think he brought an Imperial out there. I think it must have been the Iron City show that he ran that with. And I'm sure the car's been on the track 60 times since the last time it was at Stoneboro with Casey Smith, and it doesn't look any different. No, it hasn't changed any. That was a nasty ride.
Yeah, there's a lot of good builders around Pennsylvania area, a lot of creativity. Chris Verster's now added on to Frankie Guy's crew, and he doesn't miss too much. And it'd be interesting to see what Stoneboro Fair is going to be like this year.
Well, Förster was a head inspector for
Bo Lockwood.
For Bo Lockwood.
Yeah.
And
no, it was Mike. Bad Habit. Mike it starts with an H. His son runs.
Hagedorn?
Bad Habit Demolition Derby. That's who Chris Verster was the head inspector for.
Chris inspected it at Warriors too, though, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think it was he wasn't the head inspector there.
Okay.
So
Yeah, because I think Toby at one point was.
Toby was the head
as well.
inspector.
Yeah, I remember seeing Toby there too.
I think Youngblood was inspecting for them, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But I don't believe any of those guys were necessarily the head inspector. No, Chris Verster. I don't remember who told me one time that cheaters make the best tech inspectors.
Yeah.
But I think that could potentially creative builders make the best tech inspectors
For sure, without a doubt.
I would have liked to have seen him get out in the shopping carts with Pete Hansen.
That would have been funny.
That was a pretty interesting night that night if you were there at that banquet.
Yeah, that would have been funny.
Did you ever get the chance to go down to the Fall Brawl shows that were at the original Keystone Nationals at Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Brookville?
I ran Brookville like 3 times. I don't know if it was a fall brawl.
Well, anything that happens in the fall is a brawl anyway, so it's easy for it to get confused.
Yeah, ran so many derbies, you know. I don't think I was ever at a fall brawl one there though.
The exchange and the whole thing that stands out. That was the year that Tim Showers brought the Teal Imperial there, and it was this crazy mod class and this big exchange, and somebody went up over the back of his trunk lid and it had the big tire mark on the back. It was cool, but the underlying story of that was Chris Verster brought a Diplomat, and he won the stock show.
Yeah,
and brought it back out, and he almost won the mod show. The same car. I mean, it was.
I remember that. Now that you bring it up, I remember that.
Actually, Randy Brazel did that in the mod class in a Diplomat at Stoneboro.
Oh, really?
2 years ago.
See, Diplomats are where it's at.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Can't beat a good dippy.
I think he runs Chrysler engine too.
Hey, he knows what's good, man.
Awesome. So beyond Stoneboro, was there any other trips that you're really looking forward to in 2020?
I got a few cars sitting around. I'd like to go somewhere. I'd like to maybe get into the River City Rampage Most Wanted Fine Art class if I can get an entry for that. That'd be cool. Other than that, just a few small derbies here and there. Pretty busy year.
I expect nothing less.
Yeah, Ronnie's always busy.
Well,
Where can I know I Am Demolition is sort of the hub for the information that you've got out there. Is there any websites or anything that are dedicated to I Am Demolition or Billy Bash, or is it going to strictly be through I Am Demolition on Facebook?
yeah, for right now, it's just a Facebook page. We are working on a website, just trying to figure out which direction to take and how involved we want to get with it, because we all, I travel so much and everybody else works a lot. So if we're going to do it, we want to be interactive and we want to be approachable, and we want everybody to have a good time at all of our shows. And we're all very passionate about the derbies, and we just want to keep them growing and keep on smashing cars.
You mentioned the we there. I remember when Billy Bash was coming back last year, and we talked, and it was getting a little bit closer to it. You talked about there was some other folks that used to be involved with it that sort of approached you about helping bring that back. Is I Am Demolition and Billy Bash yours? Somebody didn't mute their phone. Is it yours exclusively, or is that collective still together?
Yeah, it's just me, me and my son Brian McClung, and Kayla Zager. And then we got a hell of a crew behind us. It's just that Billy Bash went for 10 years, over 10 years ago. It was an annual derby and a weekend derby and camping and everything. And then the promoter dropped it, and it was a memorial derby for their father. And he was a really good guy, and he handed me a lot of trophies and a lot of prize money over the 40 years that I've been driving. And I just want to keep honoring him. Sure. And this year, the Legends class, it's honoring Gail Hill from Gail's Auto Aftermarket. And he's been a sponsor of derbies and derby drivers ever since I could remember. If you needed a carburetor or a fan belt or a fuel pump or a distributor, that man would give it to you, and he would never ask you for payment or anything. And he's been a real asset to our sport here in Ontario.
Awesome. Well, check it out. I Am Demolition. Bad Ronnie. Most likely coming to a demolition derby near you.
You bet.
Because
that's what Ronnie does.
Because that's what Ronnie does. Ron, man, I appreciate you making some time for us. We got one more quick break that we're gonna roll here, and then we're gonna come back and wrap up number 424. Appreciate you making some time, and keep in touch, man, where your travels might bring you, where we might get a chance to bump into you. April 1st isn't too far away. Maybe we'll see you down at the Expo in Ohio.
Yeah, I'll be down at the Expo for sure.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to it, man. Congratulations on the success of Billy Bash from last year, and hopefully this year is just as strong.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Of course, man. We'll catch you soon.
Yeah.
Yep, bye now.
There goes Ron. We're going to roll that final break. We'll be back after we tell you about All For Him Racing and Jeffy's Fab Farm.
Jeffy's Fab Farm in Fredericksburg, Virginia specializes in all of your demolition derby needs. We've got you covered from bumper to bumper. Whether you need headers, shifters, harnesses, fueling systems, or complete turnkey setups, Jeffy'sFabFarm.com can help. We've even got a Canadian branch to help our northern customers. With over 16 years in the industry, we've got the knowledge and experience needed to provide the highest quality parts and put you in the winner's circle. Visit our website today or call Jeff at 540-907-3390. Fabby says the best parts come from the farm. Jeffy'sFabFarm.com.
Where'd you go?
We did the derby.
Ow, my head! You want to do a derby?
Hey Derby World, this is All For Him Racing Videos, where Derby never ends. We have people come up and ask, what is All For Him Racing Videos? And the answer is a YouTube channel dedicated to growing the sport of demolition derby in a positive and fun way. Our passion is to show the next generation the sport and capture the memories for generations to come. We're just trying to show that you can be a Christian, do crazy and exciting things like demolition derby, and just spread the word. We have traveled all over the country filming events, all while meeting many great people, hearing amazing stories, seeing the passion for this sport, and falling in love with the derby community. We have grown to be the largest demolition derby channel on YouTube across the world, with millions of views within our large library of videos. We love what we do and can't wait for what the future has in store. We always want to be a place for positive, exciting, and action-packed derby videos. Thank you, Derby World, and enjoy the videos.
And I don't know if you're following along, but Alex has the first leg of the 2022 hits videos starting to trickle out. So make sure you jump on there, follow along with Alex Vasco and everything that he has been up to. As we wrap up number 424, glad everybody enjoyed Bad Ronnie being on the show. I heard the live chat was hopping a little bit. As you can see, I had a yellow sheet of paper. It's very different. I usually have all my notes on the computer. I'm still acclimating to this life without a computer screen. I'm still not even sure what to do with my hands.
I've just been playing with the cord.
I know. I've seen you've unraveled most of it.
No, I fixed it.
Nate's been texting me, so he's going to be. You're going to have to replace all the feet of that have to be recoiled.
It's been fixed. No, it works properly.
So diving in a little bit of this, I think we'd be remiss if we don't at least somewhat touch on this the happenings on Monday Night Football last night. And one of the things that jumped off the page at me is and I'm not challenging any of the decisions or anything that was made with the cancellation of the game and the situation with Demar Hamlin and the Buffalo Bills Cincinnati game. Right now, I still maintain that the number one team in football is at UC Medical, the trauma unit, and really no changes in terms of any information there. But during the broadcast, there was a lot of conversation about how this is unprecedented and it's never been seen before. And to an extent, I'm going to agree with that. Even within the vacuum of the NFL, for the last 50 years, the expectation is if somebody gets hurt, they give a thumbs up on the stretcher, and the game goes on. Now, there was a little bit of backtracking that was going on some of the Sirius XM shows today, and saying that nobody had actually given the express word, and they don't know where that information was coming from, saying that they were going to go back and play the game. Going so far back, if we get in the Wayback Machine, back to that Raiders game in the 70s where the gentleman died, and they still played the game. Different era, different safety, different awareness, completely different era, but nonetheless. But while they're saying all that stuff, we've never seen it before, and we have. Not in front of the limelight. We've seen it at the college level. We've seen it in minor leagues with line drives. We've seen individuals be hurt or they're they have an underlying condition with a heart thing that had never been identified. High school athletes and stuff like that, and we've seen it, but it wasn't ever in front of the cameras. The exception is racing, a lot. The exception, the one that jumps off the page in primetime is Dale Earnhardt in 2001. Alex Zanardi had his legs ripped off in a horrible accident. I can think of 2 IndyCar racers that were killed when their cars flung upside down and they crushed their skulls. And all of that, generally speaking, has been on TV, and I know it's closer to us. And I can't really think immediately of a case where a demolition derby was expressly canceled, but I know that we've had significant injuries, major burns. We've had parts fly into the stand. We've had a heart attack. I remember Hammy Hamilton, broken hip, had to be cut out of the car. Christy Germain, she had a broken hip at one time. I think it was it Workhoven who took that shot and it busted his hip joint and his femur?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, I mean, there's stuff like that, but again, those aren't necessarily situations where you look at the end result and you think, wow, somebody's life's in danger. But on the flip side of it, we've had a lot with the advent of the pay-per-view. It doesn't necessarily have the limelight and the attraction on the motorsport side of things as a whole. I think of Kramer Williamson when he hit the wall and the steering shaft came back and the steering wheel crushed his chest, or Brian Clausen, or you can go through this laundry list of stuff, and it almost kind of bothered me, when you think about Demolition Derby, Brian, is how many times we've been into shows like, well, we got to wait for the ambulance to get back before we can continue. Mm-hmm. You don't see people taken out on backboards. You don't see the regular instance where it's a life-threatening exchange, but you often get the instance where you just assume that guy's going to be okay, and we almost come to a point where we're cavalier with the phrase, everybody's got to work on Monday.
Yeah.
And it almost gets to a point where within motorsport as a whole, that gets taken for granted.
Yes. You kind of brought back a lot of memories. When I was, single digits, a gentleman died while racing at Canandaigua with Dennis Taney. And I remember he never turned through 3 and 4 straight across. Come to find out, he ended up having a heart attack. That's what. Mm-hmm. But I remember sitting there, and I remember people talking about it. Yeah, he's dead, da-da-da-da-da. And they got him out of the car and took him away, and they went back to racing. Mm-hmm. Dave Kneisel, a few years later at Middletown, He was killed, got him out of the car, went back to racing.
Fleming at Syracuse.
I remember being at Brewerton for a derby once, and a guy was killed in I can't remember if it was a dwarf or an IMCA, but same thing, they went right back at it. Unfortunately, there was millions of people watching this, and it was such a hyped up game. So that's why the country, in my humble opinion, I could be wrong, it's just, let's say about opinions. So many people saw it, and so many people, my nephew, who is 10 years old, maybe 11, he's a huge Bills fan, and so I told my wife, I said, you better text and see if Dylan or if Owen was watching, and he wasn't at first. He's seen people get hurt, but then and then he got upset, and she had to try to explain it to him, and that's kind of what people are dealing with. It is definitely it's different with motorsports for some reason. I don't really know why. I don't.
To the point where it almost feels like we become desensitized to it. You just accept that element of risk, and it was really, really bizarre when I was hearing them, because it's true. It's been a while since we've had anything like this. But John Nemechek back in the Truck Series at Homestead, Miami, he slapped the wall with the driver's side, and it's the same thing that took out Kenny Irwin. It's the same thing that killed Adam Petty. It's the same thing. You got a long list of drivers that had the same thing happen. And it was just a little bit jarring to it, but by no means should anybody take away the conversation we're having right now to where I'm saying that they should have played that football game.
No, God, no.
And I maintain that you got to understand that on the sidelines that they are professional athletes. Yes, they play a kid's game for a king's ransom, but this is the other side of it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those guys, I am pretty confident that was the first time they've ever seen what CPR and defibrillation is.
Well, and that's the thing.
And there's a lot of people that didn't have that experience before that rattled them.
I will be completely honest. I have never experienced anything in any form of coaching in my life, anything like that. I couldn't imagine, because when they start CPR, somebody's life is in, you know what I mean? It's it's right there on the edge. And then add in the AED. I can't imagine it. Actually, my wife and I were watching, and one son was in the shower and my other son was upstairs, and he didn't see it live. And I told her, when they came back, when they said there was an injury, you could see the people come out, and then they didn't panic, but you could see a sense of urgency. And I'm like, that's not a normal neck. Right. That's not a normal back. And we just sat there watching, and the boys ended up coming down and watching with us. And, they showed some of the replays, and when he collapsed, I said, it's got to be cardiac. It's got to be cardiac. And then I told the boys, I said, when I was a kid, there was I was probably 10, 11 years old, and Hobart used to be kings of lacrosse, Division 3 or 2, whichever. And so they used to have lacrosse camps every year. And I remember a kid my age got killed playing lacrosse because he got hit in the chest, and there's a specific time where if you get hit in the chest and it disrupts your heartbeat, then generally they don't get you back. Right. And that had happened to this. And then we were talking about it at work today, and it also happened at Cornell once. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was leaning to as soon as it. But I mean, that happened to Chris Pronger. Yeah. The hockey player. Yep. He survived though. He made it. And I told talking with the kids, my boys afterwards, I said, this past season, I had a kid get a very serious injury, no life-threatening, no nothing, and it shook me right to the core. Like, I mean, I after everything was over, it was before the varsity game, so I was getting ready to go watch my youngest son play. I just went and sat in the truck and listened to music for like an hour and just decompressed. And, ended up riding to the game with my wife, and I can't imagine what the doctors, the first responders, the players, the coaches, the referees, the 60,000 people in the stadium. You know what I mean? The players did a great job of. There was no tarps. I mean, he's in the middle of the field, and they made the tarp. And that was good to see, and they shielded some of it. But I was there at the game when Coach Cooper passed away. Oh my gosh! And in the junior high school game, and also when I was in college.
a girl that I was dating. We were at her house, and her grandmother collapsed, and we waited for the ambulance to come, and they did all that ordeal there, and we were on the phone as she was calling family members and stuff, and then we went to the emergency room, and we went through all of that experience too. And it is not anything close to what they show you when they practice that stuff on the dummies, and it will leave an effect on you.
Yeah,
because
it's
a lot.
You know, I went through the same. You know, I wasn't there when my mom passed. By the time I got to their house, she was already in the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
But then they came and talked to us and told us the whole. So you know, it definitely is. It puts everything in its perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know, I've been involved in football for 39 years, going on 39 years, and you know, it just, you know, I mean, I've seen thousands of football plays, tens of thousands probably, and between, you know, the youth and all the way up through, and never seen something like that happen. And it's just, I mean, unfortunately, it's a freak of nature. It's. You know, the circumstances were 1 in 10 million or something, and unfortunately it happened. So, and if you're the praying sort, you know, you should probably pray for the young man.
Mm-hmm. But you know, all of that being said, it still is bizarre sometimes where, you know, we don't get the luxury all the time with the thumbs up. I'm reminded of one of those catastrophic fires that happened out in Utah, and I don't know if that derby continued or not, or, you know, there's a bunch of stuff that happened here close to home that I distinctly remember an individual being hurt, but not to the point where it was life-threatening. And it was a foregone conclusion that we were going to keep going. And you know, it kind of made me think back. It's like, was that necessary? Did we need to?
I actually
I don't mind the fact that they stopped the game.
No, not at all. I actually brought up WWE when they continued after Owen Hart fell.
Yeah,
that was the day after my wife and I had gotten married, and you know, that accident happened, and we went to Toronto for our honeymoon, and man, that was all they talked about was what had happened, and because, you know, that's very big, and you know, that's what I said. I said, I hope they learn, and the kids are like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "This game is over. Like, there's no, you know." So
WWE, let's take this a little bit of a lighter direction, but I did want to put that out there just so that we had a moment to talk about it. WWE, segueing to Chris Jericho, made a donation to the fund, the toy fund, and realized that he had spelled Demar's name wrong. Matched that same donation with the correct spelling.
That's awesome.
Because he's a cool guy.
That's awesome.
Andy Dalton. You know, remember all the donations and everything that the Bills fans had made to Andy Dalton when he completed the pass and got the Bills back to the playoffs. He's donated back to that fund.
Cool.
And I heard on the ride over that the toy fund that Demar Hamlin had set up is now up to $3.2 million, and, you know, the NFL family and all this other stuff. And I'm here to tell you right now that that fund would be well over $1 million if the Bills were 3-12 and this happened on a Sunday and he was fine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
The Buffalo Bills community is, and you can, I'll die on the hill. You know, the Buffalo Bills community is like none other. It's probably the closest to the Demolition Derby community that you can get.
Oh yeah.
Hardworking, blue collar, and they would have done that. They added a wing at the Children's Hospital when Josh Allen's grandmother passed away. So it was just cool to see all of that, and it's in the media attention. Everybody's talking about it. It's helping generate a lot of momentum, and it's a lot of good things. But that would be the case no matter what.
Mm-hmm. You know, and not to I don't know, to reiterate or retread, but me and a friend at work were talking, and I said, you know, what happened to this young man and Dale Earnhardt passing away were eerily similar, in that you've seen much worse and seen people walk away from it. Mm-hmm. And you just never know. I mean, we brought up the Talladega wreck when Dale Earnhardt flipped and got hit in the roof and you know, broke his sternum, but he walked in the ambulance and raced in a week or two. You know, how many times have you seen hits in football where you're waiting, you know, for somebody to have to be stretchered off and
holding your breath?
It was, but I mean, it was just, unfortunately it happened. And like I said, if you believe in prayer, you know, please pray, and if not, you know, send good thoughts to the young man, and hopefully things work out.
I think that pretty much covers it.
Absolutely.
I do hope that everything does work out. There hasn't been much in terms of updates, but we're waiting to see. And hopefully this does increase a little bit of awareness to it, and above all else, hopefully this is a little bit of a learning opportunity for some of the nationally televised sports, and also on the flip side, I hope that this is something that we don't have to watch again.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
On that note, that's going to do it for episode number 424. We appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us for a little while. That's going to wrap it up, and we'll be back here again at some point next week.
Barring basketball schedules?
Barring basketball schedules. We'll be back again for episode number 425 next week. We'll see you then.
The Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.